2026 midterm elections for the United States Senate have already started, and Democrats are eyeing 5 seats to flip. Donald Trump is not happy. If you like election content and prediction videos, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get into it. So on the screen right now, I have a map of the upcoming 2026 Senate elections. The states colored in blue are states that currently have Democratic incumbents, and it's widely expected for those states to go back into the Democratic column. Specifically for Georgia, Georgia is a very competitive race right now. I believe it's a toss-up in most polls, and there might be some polls that also have Jon Ossoff leading. However, assuming a 2026 political environment, and assuming it's going to be the same as it is currently right now, it's kind of expected for that state to go back to the Democratic column. So for the purpose of this video, we're going to keep Georgia as a Democratic state for 2026. And the same for the states colored in red. Those are states with Republican incumbents, and those states are highly expected to go back to the Republican column. For the purposes of this video, Alaska, Texas, Ohio, North Carolina, and Maine are states that Democrats are eyeing for a pickup opportunity. So all these states that I have shaded in gray are states that have Republican incumbents. However, these are states that Democrats can pick up, assuming that the correct national environment is beneficial for them. So as of today, December 16th, Donald Trump has an approval rating of 39%, which is very, very, very low. And with a low approval rating, not only does it affect him and his party's chances in the 2028 presidential election, they really affect these down-ballot races in Alaska, Texas, Ohio, North Carolina, and Maine. On the screen right now, I have the results for the 2022 at-large U.S. House seat for Alaska. And in 2022 in this election, longtime Republican Don Young died, so that seat went up for a vacancy. And they also implemented ranked choice voting, which is a system where voters can rank their candidates in order of preference instead of just picking one. And in both the special election and the regular November 2022 general election, the Democratic candidate, actually, Mary Peltola, came out on top. She became the first Democrat to win in a statewide office in Alaska since 2008. And she also beat high-profile Republicans, including former Governor Sarah Palin. She also ran for vice president in 2008. So that just shows how much of an electoral powerhouse she is. And in the general election, she won majority of the support after all the final vote tallies were counted in the ranked choice voting. So what that means for 2026, the political landscape can really be competitive for Peltola if she were to actually enter into the U.S. Senate race. There's actually been talks amongst Democratic leadership and within the state of Alaska that Mary Peltola may actually run in that seat. In 2024, she did lose her House seat, but she remains a very high figurehead among the Alaska Democratic Party. And her statewide win in 2022 gives her more of a proven track record where she has the chance and the ability to actually win statewide in the Senate race. If Democrats were to nominate Mary Peltola to run in that Senate seat for 2026, I really believe that Democrats could actually win, especially considering Donald Trump could be very unpopular during the midterm season and really affect the Alaska electorate. So I'm going to shade in Alaska as blue, assuming that Alaska is able to pull off the unthinkable and actually flip that seat to the Democrats. So right now, that's going to be 48 Democrats and 48 Republicans. So moving on to Texas, Texas has been one of those states that's always seen so close yet so far for Democrats to actually win. In 2022, Joe Biden actually got really close to winning that state during his presidential election. However, in 2024, it went back to Donald Trump, and it actually swung back to the right by a wider margin. However, in 2026, there's actually a real pickup opportunity for Democrats in this state. Currently, there's a primary going on between James Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett. So right here, I have an article from the Texas Tribune, and this article is saying that Jasmine Crockett's actually leading in the race by 8 points against James Tallarico. And in my opinion, I think they're really, really great candidates. It's up to the voters in Texas to decide who they want to represent them in the actual election. And I think with either candidate that they pick, the Democrats still have a really strong chance at actually picking up this seat. Both James Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett both made national headlines in the past couple of years. Specifically, Jasmine Crockett, she's just been a really big name, just viral clips going around. And also James Tallarico with that whole redistricting happening in Texas, and when he and the other lawmakers left the state, they're both really widely known in Texas, and either of them winning could be really good for the Democratic Party. In the 2020 election, Joe Biden only trailed Donald Trump by around 6 percentage points in Texas, and this just shows the huge strides that Democrats have made in the state. And looking at the turnout, 66%, there's a lot of room for growth in that percentage. In 2026, Donald Trump's expected to be super unpopular, and if Democrats are actually able to come out and vote, they could actually elect a Democrat in the state. So I think that's a really, really huge opportunity for the Democrats. The only thing that makes me nervous about this race is I feel like the Democrats are going to underestimate their ability to actually win in the state. Texas has just proven over and over again that it continues to vote for Republicans statewide in like almost every election, actually every election. So I just feel like Democrats aren't really going to try to take that opportunity. But I feel like considering the special circumstances of 2026, that if they were actually able to like invest money in the race and continue to like spend on ads and like actually really platform their candidates, that they'd actually have a really good chance of winning. So going back to the map, I'm going to shade Texas blue. If Democrats are able to flip the seat, that'll make it 49 to 48 Republicans so far. And with that, also to remember that J.D. Vance is the vice president of the United States right now. So if it were to be 50-50, the J.D. Vance would have the tie-breaking spot. But luckily, there's 3 more states to go. But yeah, I think Texas is a really huge opportunity, so I'm going to make this blue. Also, let me know down below in the comments who you'd rather be the Democratic nominee. Would you rather James Talarico or Jasmine Crockett? Because honestly, right now, I'm still pretty up in the air myself. I'm not really sure who I believe would have a better chance at winning. So moving on to the next state on the list, up next is North Carolina. And North Carolina is another one similar to Texas that's been really tricky for the Democrats to win. Statewide, like within like in statewide office levels, they've actually been able to win. So looking back at the 2024 gubernatorial election in North Carolina, Democrat Josh Stein was actually able to win statewide in North Carolina by over 14 percentage points compared to Mark Robinson. And considering Mark Robinson was actually a very, very bad, like an awful candidate, but Josh Stein was still able to win statewide in North Carolina. And it's not just for the gubernatorial election as well. And also looking at the 2024 lieutenant gubernatorial election, the Democratic nominee Rachel Hunt was actually able to win with 49.5% of the vote compared to her Republican counterpart. So it's really good to see the Democrats are able to win statewide in those elections. However, in the national elections for North Carolina, they really struggled. They haven't been able to elect a Democratic senator, I believe, since 2008. However, Roy Cooper is actually running for that 2026 Senate election. No, Roy Cooper is actually the very popular former governor from North Carolina. And looking back to his 2020 election where he won a 4-year term, and this is his second term, but he won with 51.5% of the vote compared to Dan Forrest, which he won 47% of the vote. So this just goes to show that Roy Cooper is extremely popular in the state and can win statewide and can bring that momentum to the North Carolina Senate race. And going into more depth about Roy Cooper is actually, he was actually the governor for 2 terms and also attorney general for 2 terms. And the funny thing is, he's never actually lost an election in North Carolina. So this just goes to show how strong of a candidate he is and how he could actually win and bring that momentum to the Senate race. And going back to that map shading in North Carolina blue, that'll actually bring Democrats' majority to 50 to 48 in the Senate, leaving Ohio and Maine left. So Democrats are needing to pick up North Carolina and have Roy Cooper be that nominee for there to be even a chance for them to win back the Senate. If you're enjoying the video, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. It really helps a lot. Now let's get back into the video. So moving on to the next state is Ohio, and Ohio is a really interesting state because Democrat Sherrod Brown was actually the former senator of that state who lost re-election in 2024. However, he's actually running again in 2026 to reclaim his seat. J.D. Vance, the current vice president of the United States, vacated his seat to actually become the vice president. So Sherrod Brown is running in this special election to finish out the rest of J.D. Vance's term. I actually just recently uploaded a video going more in depth about this race. So if you're interested, check out my channel and watch the rest of that video. 2024, Sherrod Brown actually lost his re-election bid by 4 points to now Senator Bernie Moreno. However, Sherrod Brown is still a very known figure in Ohio politics. It's another state that Democrats have the opportunity to pick up. I really think Sherrod Brown's a huge competitor in the race. Like I said previously, he's very well known. He had a really high approval rating while he was in office. And with the 2026 midterm environment where Republicans won't be as popular to Democrats during that time, I think Sherrod Brown can overcome that edge and actually win that seat and become the next senator for the state. However, that seat would only be for 2 years, so we'd have to run again in 2028. But I really do believe that Sherrod Brown will have the opportunity to come back and win that race. So going back to the map, I'm going to go ahead and shade Ohio blue. This will bring the Democrats' majority to 51 to 48 outright, meaning that even with J.D. Vance's tie-breaking vote, he wouldn't really be able to do anything. Democrats would have the outright majority at that point. And assuming if Democrats were able to flip the House too, Donald Trump's term would be effectively over. He wouldn't be able to get anything passed through because Democrats just wouldn't allow anything to go through. So this is another one of those states that's crucial for Democrats to win. So the final state we have on the map left over is Maine. Maine's another really one of those competitive states. With Maine has gone statewide for Democrats in the national presidential election for multiple election cycles now. However, in the Senate race has been really hard for Democrats to crack. Susan Collins, a current senator for the state of Maine, has remained a really popular figure in Maine politics and continues to win elections even when polls suggest otherwise, where she would lose. She continues to win, and it's really an uphill battle for Democrats in the state. But I feel that with Republican unpopularity in 2026, that Democrats actually have a chance to win this race and unseat Susan Collins. There's actually a really heated primary going on in the 2026 Democratic primary for the Maine Senate seat. Graham Plattner and Janet Mills, the current governor of Maine, are running against each other in the Democratic primary to win the seat. And currently, Janet Mills is actually favored right now. She's favored by 10 points to win the actual election. And that just goes due to her popularity in the state. She's the current governor. A lot of folks are going to know her name in the state. And that's another thing where I believe incumbency really matters. I believe that with Janet Mills that they'd have a greater chance of winning. At the 2020 race, Susan Collins actually beat her Democratic opponent by around 7 or 8 points. And it goes to show that Susan Collins is a very strong challenger. She's going to be very formidable to beat. But I do think that Democrats have a chance, especially just with Republican unpopularity right now. And with that race, giving it to the Democrats in Maine, that's going to have the Senate outlook to be 52 seats to 48 seats, giving Democrats a complete outright majority. I definitely think this is going to be an uphill battle for the Democrats to actually achieve this, but it 100% is possible considering everything going on right now and how we really have to expect the unexpected. And it's really too early to tell too. There's still months away until the elections. But right now, here's a map. If everything goes the Democrats' way in these 5 races, again, it's 52 to 48. If you all agree or disagree with my projections, let me know down below in the comments with what you guys think. It's really up in the air. We don't know what's going to happen yet. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to be posting videos like this every single day. Let me know if you guys have anything for me to do in the comments, if you have any video ideas. And have a great day. Bye.